work on my modern folk embroidery mystery stitch along while I record this Stitch With Me video, because the last time that I worked on this piece for a Stitch With Me video, I was up here and I made a fair number of errors during the recording of that video. I have also been making quite a few errors working on this piece this week. When I was down here in this section, I must have had to restitch this part 3 times. First of all, I put an extra stitch on here and then I used that as my guideline all the way down. So that was wrong. And then what else did I do? I'd done something else. I can't quite remember. Let me see if I'm straight here. Am I straight? I'm having trouble seeing. I think we're just going to have to go with it tonight. So it's either very foolish or genius that I'm working on this one tonight. This is the only piece that I have stitched since I got home from New Jersey because I can't put it down. And I think that part of it is in reaction to being able to stitch whatever I want, whenever I want, again, instead of feeling like I had to follow my rules for Whip Mania. But I just can't, this is the piece that I've been going to all week. Every time I've had a few moments and my stitching time first thing in the morning, it's the first thing I want to do. I can't wait to load up my needle and put a few stitches in. I love it. So for those who don't know and are wondering, this is a piece by Jacob de Graaf, who is the designer of modern folk embroidery. You can find his patterns at www.modernfolkembroidery.com. And he is definitely one of my favorite designers. I don't think I've seen a single thing that he has designed that I didn't think was just the most beautiful thing ever. And this is certainly no exception. So I have this is called the Modern Folk Embroidery Mystery Sal 2018. I think it has a different name. I'm going to have to look that up. I will put that in the drop-down box below. I'll put a link to the pattern so you can find it if you're interested. If you haven't seen this, but it has been all over the internet, so I suspect you know exactly what it is that I'm showing you. This is done, it's a monthly mystery. So each part is released 1 part a month. I have completed, just because I'm always behind, I'm a little bit slow, I have completed January. And January comes up to about here, just about there. So this part of this new motif over here, this is all part of February. And I am all in. I don't want to put it down. I just don't want to put it down. So I'm stitching this on a 40 count linen by R&R Reproductions in the Patriots Brew colorway. And it is perfect. I love everything about it. The color, the texture of the linen, it's just lovely to work on. And my floss that I'm using is a silk. It's a discontinued silk from Vicki Clayton, Hand-Dyed Fibers, from a number of years ago. And I realize I'm repeating myself for those who have seen this project already, but for the benefit of those who are new, because we always have new friends to meet, this was my skein of Vicky's thread, and colorway was called Zafra Cobalt. And it turned out that I probably wasn't going to have enough. I have 2 of these skeins, and it's a single strand silk. Vicky did these in a few different ways, and this was known as the premium premium silk, or I can't remember, but it came in a single strand, and you can see it's from 2009. So it's been in my stash for a while. And I have 2 skeins and each one is 150 yards. So I have 300 yards, single strand. And I was emailing with Jakob about something else, and he said, "Oh, I saw your video when you talked about the amount of thread that you have. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but with my calculations, I don't think you're going to have enough." So I was a little bit bummed, but he had a suggestion that I had another silk. He had seen that I had another silk that was a slightly lighter color, a lighter blue, that he thought would look quite beautiful in there. And I agreed. But I was still, in my mind, when stitchers have certain things that you see a certain way, and in your mind you can see how perfect it's going to be. That wasn't what I had in mind. And so I hemmed and hawed about it a little bit, and I thought, okay, well, there are a few of these motifs that I really could see as being light blue, and I was getting on board with it. And then I had a private message on Facebook from a viewer down in the States who was also a huge Vicky Clayton fan. And she said, "I happen to have some Zafra Cobalt in my stash, and how about I send it to you and you see whether it will match with your dye lot, and you can use that, and then you'll have it all in one color." And this was like winning the lottery, getting an email like this, because that just doesn't happen. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going here. So, the kindness of strangers in this community it's remarkable. It really is remarkable. And so I have been blending in. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you. So this was my skein. And then the skein that she sent me is a 6-strand silk, same colorway, Zafra Cobalt. And if you look carefully, you can see that the colors look very slightly different. So they're obviously not the same dye lot. However, they're really, really super close. And I have used a few lengths of this floss in my piece. And I would bet money that you can't tell, because I can't tell. I have zero recollection of where I used it, because I did not work on this piece except for one day in the entire month of May. So I don't actually remember where I used her thread and where I've used mine. And I've been mostly using mine, because what I would like to do is use hers very sparingly, use up mine first, use hers throughout the design for the little bit extra that I need, and then I'm hoping to send her back the majority of this silk. If I can, send back as much as I can, because this is a treasure and really deserves to be most of it back with its original owner, lovingly cared for. So anyways, that's what's going on. That's what I'm using. That's what is being used for this design. And I am ready to restart. Now, I've been trying to be very careful to not carry my thread across the back. So I'm going to start again. I clipped my thread. I'm going to start again with a pin stitch over here, because even though it's one square away, I still think I'm going to be as cautious as I can in these little open sections to make it as neat and tidy as I can and not carry that blue thread across the back, so that when it's framed, it's as clean as possible and neat and tidy. And you know what? I put a picture of this on Instagram yesterday, and I made the comment, I've only just finished January. I'm super slow. I'm super behind, but I don't care. I don't give a hoot, because I am loving every single stitch of this piece. I am going to be super sad when it's done. Every single stitch of this piece has been a joy. Even having to frog out mistakes, I have done it immediately. I haven't put it into a corner in timeout. I carefully took out the silk. This silk frogs out beautifully and cleanly. Oh, what did I do? You know what? Did I do that too far over? No, I didn't. That's really a small square there. Looks right. Okay, let's see. We'll give it a go. The silk rips out cleanly, and in fact, so cleanly you can reuse it. And you'd never know that it had been frogged out a few times. And I say a few times because it was a few times. This one length of thread in this section right here, I ripped and restitched 3 times. So the third time I finally got it correct. And I reused that same length of silk. And to my eye, it's maybe a little teeny bit more dull than the silk that's over here. But if you're standing back 2 feet like a regular person would, looking at, your design when it's on the wall in a frame, I don't think you'd notice that. So anyways, we're going to go with it. Because trust me, after the third time, I was ready to move on to the next motif. So anyways, this is my piece. And I'm glad you're here with me tonight. It is actually Thursday night. I have gotten into the habit of recording these videos on Thursday night because it allows me to quickly edit them and have them loaded up to go so that they will be ready to publish at 6 p.m. on Friday. So in case there are those who like to start off their Friday night party with a little visit with me, then it's there ready for you at 6 o'clock. Now, I'm sure many of you are aware by now that I went on a special trip last weekend. And it was so fun. It was so much fun. Having friends who are stitchers is just the best, just the very best thing. Because when else can you be in a room with someone? I mean, how do I describe this? And I know you all know what I mean, but how surreal is it to chat with someone online who you've never met in real life? And, your daughter is saying, "You're crazy. That's not a real friend. You met them online. You don't know them for real." And you think, "But I do know them for real. For real." Gotten to know them, and, you watch their videos and you feel like they're a friend. And then to be in the same room with that person, I could not stop staring at Letitia, the crafty curator. I just couldn't get past the fact that she was in the same room with me. And this woman who has so much in common with me, from the just little details of our daily lives, we are constantly amazed at each other. She'll message me and she'll have watched my video and she'll say, me too. That's my favorite birthday food. And this is what happened to me. And that's just the same as you. And sharing that common love of stitching. And being in the same room with Gerald and being able to see the projects on his wall that I've watched in his video, and seeing the gecko on the wall and the gnomes in the corner, and, meeting this friend who you just think, I do know you. And you feel like you've been friends forever. And I know for a fact that everybody who went to the New Jersey retreat 2 weeks earlier felt the same way. Granted, on a much bigger scale. But it's true, you do feel like you know these people. And I had the best time. So what we did was, and I know I didn't say much about this last weekend because I am never, ever, ever in a million years going to tell the internet when I'm not home or when the family isn't home because, well, that's just silly. So people knew that I was away. But what we did was my family actually came with me. So we all drove down to New Jersey together. Originally, when Gerald and Letitia and Michelle, when we first started talking about, meeting for real, meeting in real life, and wouldn't that be amazing? And I was just going to drive down by myself. I was going to drive to New Jersey by myself and meet with the other. We sort of thought it would be fun for the moderators of the Friday night Facebook group to get together because we'd sort of become friendly over, bonding over the group. And that's a nice small number of people. I know people think it's really funny when I say that I'm an introvert. I recognize that. I do recognize that it seems extremely crazy for me to say that I'm an introvert, but it's true. I think I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense, because I could talk the ear off a dead chicken, literally. Like, I would kill the chicken dead with my talking because I talk so much. But I also really, in social situations where it's a room full of people, I am very uncomfortable. I'm extremely uncomfortable. I never, ever went out to bars or did the kind of normal things that people my age did, when they were in university or college and sort of the, going out with your friends to the pub and hanging out, going to dances and things like that. I would rather have just curled up in a ball and put my head under the covers rather than do stuff like that. And so I'm not fibbing when I say that I'm an introvert. It's doing these videos allows me to put that side of my personality out there that needs to connect with people in such a way that feels very, very safe. And I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you because it seems kind of crazy, but that videos, I feel very comfortable making them. But, you have to remember that I have a 4-year, I'm not saying this to brag. This is coming out wrong. I have a performance degree where I went to school for music, to be a performance major, to play the flute in front of crowds of people. And that doesn't really sound like something that an introvert would necessarily do. However, I am able to perform as long as I feel safe. I could not be a singer. I could not do public speaking in front of I can run a piano recital in front of a room full of people. I can do that when I have to. But if I feel like I have something to hide behind, and when I'm playing the flute, I have the feeling that I can hide behind my flute, then it doesn't matter how many people are in the room. I can do it because I feel comfortable. And I know that I'm decent at it. I don't stink. So when you feel like you don't stink at something and maybe people will enjoy it, then it's not quite so hard. But going into a room full of people that I don't know and feeling like, I don't know, I always feel a little out of place. I feel like everybody's looking at me, even though it's totally not true. I just feel very conspicuous and I feel uncomfortable and awkward, and then I really start to talk. Nervous talk and stupid talking, things that you would think, what is she saying? She should just be quiet because what she's saying makes no sense. That sort of thing. And so that's why, when I said on the video, I'd made a joke that it was the retreat for introverts. It's kind of true because I feel safe in small, just a couple of people, and then we have time to chat, and I don't feel so nervous, and I don't feel like I'm, chatting about things that don't make sense. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? So anyways, that was my really long roundabout way of saying that I had an amazing time. I had such a great time. Gerald was a phenomenal host. And meeting Letitia was just the icing on the cake. So Saturday, we spent the day stitching and watching FlossTube. And we did our live video together, the three of us. And then I made a big pasta dinner. And we ate dinner together. And then we stitched some more and we watched some more FlossTube. And it was just the best day. It was just absolutely the best day. And then on Sunday, so I didn't finish telling you what my family was doing, did I? Okay, so I was going to drive myself, and I was going to head to New Jersey by myself and meet up with my stitching friends. But then John said, the kids have never been to New York City. Sarah's been saying that she would like to go. How would you feel about us tagging along with you? And I said, well, I think that's a great idea. Then we can share the driving. When I say share the driving, I mean you can do the driving and then I can sit in the passenger seat and knit. And so that's what we did. They came with me and we drove. What time did we leave? We got up at 5 a.m. here in London. We were on the road by 6 a.m. We packed up the dog because my lovely sister-in-law and her mom, and of course my brother, can't forget him, they took our dog, Daria, for the weekend for us and took care of her for us, which was great. Let's see, what am I doing here again? Where am I going to start? So we arrived at their place at around 7:30-ish, 7:45, maybe. And then we were off for the border, crossed over the border, and made our way down. And then Sarah has always wanted to visit and see the Cake Boss shop, because that was a show that she really loved watching a few years ago. The Cake Boss on, I don't remember what channel it was on. But anyways, she really enjoyed that show. And so we decided that we would drive. Now, I'm going to have to think about this before I say it, because according to Gerald, I always say it wrong, the name of the city. And it is a city, I'm pretty sure. I always say Hoboken, but it's not Hoboken, it's Hoboken. I think I got that right. Hoboken. And that's the place in New Jersey where the Cake Boss shop is. So we drove first to, I just pulled that silly thing out. Shoot. Let's try that again. We drove to Hoboken, and it was absolute lunacy. Drivers there are crazy, but we survived. There was no parking anywhere. So of course, John said, look, why don't I just drop you off in front of the shop? Because he didn't really care about going in. He dropped us off in front of the shop, and we hightailed it in. I bought the kids each a cupcake, and we looked around the shop. I think we were there for 10 minutes. And then we headed out. And by the time we headed out, he had gone around the block a few times. And then he picked us up when we were done. So that was fun. And then we drove 2 minutes away to the train station that's there in Hoboken. See, I'm getting better at that. What is it called? Journey Station, I'm pretty sure. And so I dropped them off there and I reset my GPS and then I drove myself from Hoboken. Hoboken. See, hey, it's natural now. I'm assuming that I'm saying it wrong, but I didn't. I drove myself from there to Gerald's place and I did it all by myself. And I have to say that the traffic might have given me a few extra gray hairs, but I did it. So that was Thursday night, and I left the family. They took the train into New York City, and they had an amazing weekend. And I got to hang out with Stitchers. It was like the perfect vacation because my husband is the kind of person who, when he goes away on vacation, he likes to have every minute jam-packed with things to do. He wants to be going and doing and seeing, and I want to be sitting and stitching and reading and, drinking coffee and relaxing. And that is just not his thing for a holiday. And fortunately for him, my kids are very happy travelers and they love to do pretty much what he does. Just hang on a sec. Okay, I'm back. My son was getting ready for bed and our bathroom is in our bedroom. So and that's where I'm stitching. I'm stitching in our bedroom. So he needed to come in and get ready. You might hear them talking to each other out there in the hallway. I tried to do this earlier today, but it's been a full day, so I didn't get to this before tonight. Anyways, so they're great travelers and they just loved the city, New York City. And they had a fabulous time with John. I had a fabulous time with my Stitcher friends, and all was well in my world because that's just my absolute perfect kind of vacation. Not going without my family, but being able to hang out with new friends who like to do what I like to do. So that was really fun. I promise the next vacation I go on with my family, I'll actually hang out with them. Pretty sure. I'm just kidding. All right, I think I'm going to tuck this under a couple of threads. I don't like to have loose threads on the back. I like them to be anchored down, even if I'm going 3 or 4 stitches. I think something like this deserves a bit of care. Only because in my mind it deserves a bit of care, If you stitch it the way you stitch it, then it's right for you. He's ready for bed. That's what he's saying in the hallway. All right. So I had Kathy and Neil. I've mentioned them before. My friends who used to own Thread and I mean, they didn't used to own it. No one else owns it or owned it. But the owners of my LNS who retired, and my other friend Tracy, who is also a wonderful stitcher, came to visit me this morning, and we had a little get together, and I'm hoping that it's the first one of many. Anyways, I wanted to, spend some time with them now that they're a week or so out of having everything completely finalized with the shop being, closed down, and they looked like they were well rested and happy, and it was so nice to see. So, something happened this morning with Kathy stitching. And it could have been quite disastrous, but I'm not going to say anything else about it because like any good floss tuber, I saw potential for turning potential tragedy into very good video footage. So you'll be super proud of me that I managed to convince Kathy to allow me to video what happened, and I'm going to share that with you on Monday. So, isn't that pretty? Isn't that beautiful? Look at that little motif. Doesn't it just make you happy? That just makes my day. I look at that and it's so delicate and pretty and blue, and I love blue, and I love the fabric. I'm telling you, this piece ticks every single box for me. I absolutely love it. All right, I'm going to sew this in. Trim that off. I know I could probably carry it, but I'm not going to. Okay, so the center's done. I think maybe if I come up in the center here and work my way out like that. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So this one here, there we go. Isn't the pin stitch a fantastic invention? Whoever came up with the pin stitch as a way to neatly start your thread so that you're kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's clean and tidy and perfect. I think it's really quite a genius thing to do. I'm going to go nice and slow because my thread's a little bit twisted and I don't want it to pop out. So Monday, it feels like forever since I've done a video because, trust me, doing a video every day in May, I was videoed out. So it was really nice to have a week off because it makes me feel like I've missed it and I'm ready to get back into sharing things and talking some more. Big surprise, right? So Mondays, I will have a regular Monday floss tube update on Monday. I'm not quite sure whether you're going to see anything else on there other than Modern Folk Embroidery Mystery Sal, but I might have a few other things. I did work on my Ginger Gerald Designs windmill, old-fashioned windmill. I am hosting a sal with Michelle Bendy Stitchy, and the hashtag for that is Ginger Gerald Smalls Sal. And you can choose any of his designs that are small and stitch them with us. And of course, Michelle Bendy, in true Michelle Bendy fashion, has already finished hers. She's already stitched it. And I have done part of one windmill blade because, modern folk embroidery and stitching and driving and working and all of that good stuff. But Michelle does all that too. She has a busy family life and she's busy at work, and I don't know how she does it. I think there must be a clone of Michelle that, helps her out so that she can get everything done. I can't quite figure that out. She's amazing. Anyway, so Ginger Gerald Designs, not Mystery Sal. I'm getting my patterns mixed up. I have started that, so I'll share that. I also started something new. I know it wasn't high tea, but it was one of my souvenirs from my trip that I bought from the Nimble Needle. I started one of the bird coaster designs from the kit, one of the kits that I purchased. I have a few rows of one color done on that, so maybe I'll have a little bit more of that done this weekend. The other thing that I really need to catch up on, because I have now fallen behind, is the A Year in Chalk designs, the monthly designs. I have not finished May. And I'm a little disappointed about that because I was doing so well. I was really sticking with one a month, getting them done, and then I kind of fell down on the job during May because I was kind of obsessed about not repeating projects every day and, having a new project to show every day. That's part of the problem with my personality. If I say I'm going to do something, I have to do it. It's like reading a book that's terrible. I can't not finish it. It doesn't matter how bad it is. I started it. I have to finish it. Every single page. And sometimes that's rather torturous, but it's like listening to podcasts or, finding a new floss tuber. Heaven help me if that floss tuber has 100 episodes, because I've got to start at the beginning. I have to start at the beginning. There's a knitting podcast that I love, and it's called A Homespun House, and the host's name is Molly. And I love Molly. But Molly has been recording knitting videos for years and years and years, and I'm way back. This woman now has 2 children, and I'm back in the day when she only had 1 child. And her second child is like 3 or 4. I'm way behind. Maybe she's 2. I don't know. See, I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know how old her second child is. But I know she's got one because I follow her on Instagram. And sometimes she posts snippets on her stories of her family. Anyway, that was a little rabbit hole there. But if you haven't watched Molly from A Homespun House and you are a knitter, even if you're not a knitter, she's just generally lovely to listen to. I like her. Floss Tube, Kitten Stitcher. We watched Little Kitten Stitcher. We watched, what else did we watch? Emily C's Stitch With Me video. That was awesome. Her tag was amazing. It was so fun to listen to her. And so, Gerald and Letitia and I sat and stitched along with Emily's Stitch With Me video. And that was really fun. That was really fun. What is going on here? What am I doing? Something's going wrong. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to have to rip that out. This should not be here. Just those 3 stitches. So, there. Good as new, like it never happened. Now, there. Thread licker. I know. Terrible habit. So, a really, really funny thing happened yesterday that I've been wanting to tell you. I did post this on my personal Facebook page. And just a side note about my personal Facebook page, I rarely, if ever, post anything on there. That's what makes this so unusual. And I know I have had some friend requests from people. I hate to say this, but I usually don't accept them. And it's not because I don't like you. It's not because I don't want to be your friend, but it's because I need to keep a little bit of my personal life personal. So unless I really know you in real life, not real life, you know what I mean, in everyday life, I have to keep that. I can't accept all the friend requests. And I feel really bad doing it. It feels like I'm being, I don't know. What's the way to describe it? Someone's being kind and sending a friend request and they want to be friends with you. Well, I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about my opinions on very contentious issues because I feel like that's my business. And sometimes friends on my personal feed, in Muggle land, well, I don't need to get into that. I keep my stitching life it's like separating church and state. This is stitching for me. And Facebook for me, my Facebook is all about the Friday Off the Grid group, which I love. And that's why we keep it kind, we keep it stitching related, we keep it PG, so that everybody can enjoy it. Everybody can join in and it's inclusive for everyone. Whereas my personal Facebook page, and I mean, I'm not wild and crazy on it, I hardly ever post, but I think there has to be some place where on social media where my Muggle friends don't feel like they have to be inundated with stitching as well. Does that make sense? I keep calling them my Muggle friends. That's because I know none of them are ever in a million years going to watch this. So, and my mom. My mom's on my private Facebook page. I guess that's okay. I don't have to call her a Muggle because she knits and cross stitches as well. I think that's it for me today, guys. And I know for a fact I just went down a rabbit hole there with Facebook. I can't remember where I was going with it. So hopefully, friend requests. I was going to tell you a funny story. Now I remember. Right. Okay. So on my private Facebook page, this is where I was going with that. Because I rarely ever post anything on there. I think that the people who know me here in London were probably shocked to see anything posted at all. I was teaching a piano lesson yesterday, my first student of the night, and he's this adorable, super cute 8-year-old. And he's a very, I don't know if precocious is the right word, because he's just bright. He is bright, he's witty, he's quick. He's a lot older than 8, if that makes sense. He's old for his age. And he questions everything. So, he's one of those kids that can sometimes be hard to teach because they question you, right? But don't we want our kids to, not question authority necessarily, because you want them to behave and you want them to listen. But I think to a point when a child when you offer them something like, we're going to practice this scale and this is the fingering that you're going to use. And he says, why? It's one of those, because I said so. That's how it's done and that's how you're going to do it. And so, every lesson is like that with this particular child. He keeps me on my toes. And so, anyways, now that you have a little background on his personality, this story might make a little more sense to you. So, some of you may have seen in the past when I've done a Monday floss tube update where I have gone to the hairdresser and I had my hair straightened. And that for me is kind of a big deal because I have extremely curly hair, naturally curly hair. It's always curly. That's how it grows out of my head. I can't do much else with it. It's like that all the time. And so for someone who has naturally curly hair that always looks the same and you can't do anything differently with it. Now, where did I sew that in? Oh, shoot. What did I do? I think I'm going to have to bring it back up here. See, I'm right into my storytelling and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Here's where things could go seriously sideways. Okay, so, anyways, you've seen me, maybe if you've watched an episode where I had my hair straightened, it looks a little unusual because no one is used to seeing me that way. And so it's a very dramatic change. And I love doing it a couple of times a year because it's something really different. And it's fun to feel like you've done something a little different and you look like a different person. So fast forward to this, I had it done in the morning on Wednesday, and then my first student arrived and he walked in the door and he stopped dead in his tracks and he kept staring at me and he didn't say anything. And then we went upstairs to where the piano is in the studio, and he said, "So, your hair." And he kept looking at me. He kept kind of giving me this look. He said, "So, your hair, how long is it going to be like that? How is it like that forever?" And I said, "Oh, no, the next time I wash my hair, it'll go back to normal. It'll look curly again." And I kid you not, without skipping a beat, this kid says, "Oh, you should go and have a shower then." I just about died. I literally could not believe it. It wasn't, he didn't say it in such a, "Oh, you should go have a shower." It was complete, it was almost under his breath. It was quiet.
Good night.
Good night, hon. Love you.
Love you too.
We are getting all the interruptions tonight, but I think that one was okay. That was Sarah. She's headed to bed. And I told you my funny story. I had to try really hard to keep a straight face because I didn't want him to think that I was laughing at him. But it was just the most honest, funniest. He just was not having any of this. His teacher just did not look right, and she needed to fix it. And it was just really, really funny. Anyway, thank you for letting me share my story. And now for real, I am going to finish up. Oh, you know what? Let's just finish this little center motif. Isn't that always the way? Just one more stitch. Just one more stitch. Okay, so I need to do 4 more in order to have this. 4 more? You know what? I missed a stitch over here. Look at that. See these little guys? They've got that center bump at the top, and I missed one. I missed that one over here. I'm going to have to go back and fill that in. I'm not going to do it right now. I just need 4 more. 3 more. Then this little guy's done. Almost there. I don't find this fabric difficult to see at all. Good lighting makes all the difference. And there we go. One more leg. That's not right. It's in the wrong spot. Let's do it this way. Done. Done, done, done. Now, I just have one more thing to say because I actually thought of this earlier today and then I couldn't find the comment. I've had a couple of questions lately, not lately, like last week and the week before on the YouTube channel, and I am going to tell you the last 2 weeks I don't know if I've been coming or going. So I know that I've missed some questions. I'm going to try and go back in and answer them, but it's been a while, so I'm not sure people are even going to see my answers. So I'll try to answer any questions that popped up on Monday. If I don't, and you're still curious about whatever it is that you asked me, please ask me again. I am not intentionally ignoring anyone. I really, I'm always happy to answer questions. So if you had a question for me and I didn't answer it, or I'm not going to answer it on Monday, please ask me again because it means that I've missed it. But I had a comment. Was it last week or the week before? I can't even remember. And I think it was on one of my older Stitch With Me videos. And, I have had people in the past say, oh goodness, I don't take this the wrong way, but you're just like Bob Ross. I think of you as the Bob Ross of stitching because your voice is so calm and happy. Trust me, I don't take that as an insult at all, because who doesn't love Bob Ross? And to be compared to, any form of Bob Ross is pretty awesome. But someone, and again, this is not the first time that this comparison has been made either. She said, "You please don't take this the wrong way, but you remind me of Mr. Rogers." And she said, "But it's not an insult. I love Mr. Rogers." And I just wanted to say, because I meant to write a response right away and I didn't, and that's my first mistake. I should always, when I'm thinking about the response, I should always do it right away. That is not an insult in any way, shape, or form, because Mr. Rogers is awesome. And I totally want to see the movie immediately because he's amazing. Mr. Rogers was really amazing. So, anyways, if the person who left me that comment is watching, I hope you hear this, and I hope you know that I never in a million years was offended or insulted at all by being compared to Mr. Rogers. I find that a pretty high compliment indeed, and thank you. And that really, for now, because I think I have said at least 10 or 15 minutes, I've talked 10 or 15 minutes longer than when I first said I was going to say goodbye. Now for real, I'm going to say goodbye. And I wish you a very happy weekend. Happy stitching. I hope you have a fantastic party on Friday night with your stitching and you get lots done on your whip, and that you share your pictures on the Facebook group, because we all love to cheer each other on and see more amazing stitching. And I will see you on Monday for my first regular Monday FlossTube update in a really long time, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'll see you then. Have a great weekend, guys. Happy stitching.